wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People age 5 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for some light snow tonight with a temp rising to about 22, Friday cloudy with a high near 25, and Saturday cloudy with a high around 9. Hazel's Northeast has some of the most creatively prepared comfort food you'll find for any meal of the day. Favorites include the Drunken Banana French Toast, Buttermilk Fried Chicken Sandwich, and Swedish Meatballs. Open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 8 to 8 with a Sunday brunch from 8 until 2. Located off 29th and Johnson. More at hazelsnetogo.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. And this portion is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice. And we got a jam-packed show. And we have Jonny R of the NDN Way here. And we're going to be speaking on the big comedy show that's coming up on the Twin Cities. And I know Jonny was featured in this national book. We had a little real estate problem. It's been out for a year. This is a remarkable book. And it's illuminating and stereotyping, busting history of Native comedians. And so we're really excited to have Jonny on a little later. But without further ado, I want to start out the show with the news with Ogama, the news you don't hear anywhere else. Welcome.
Bonjour, Anin relatives. This is Ogama Kanuakwe here with you on Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I have some news and information for you. I wanted to touch base on the NDN Way Comedy Tour that's happening right now. NDN Way Comedy, including Jonny R, Trish Cook, and the Res reporter Rob Fairbanks, are going to be live at the legendary Parkway Theater this Saturday, January 28th, 2023, starting at 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 6:30. Tickets are $14 in advance and $19 at the door. This is an all-ages show. Make sure you head over to theparkwaytheater.com to get your tickets, or Facebook RSVP on the event page at NDN Way Comedy. So exciting. Going to be a great show. Really looking forward to hearing the follow-up from that event. For all you water protectors out there, I do want to remind you that the Tamarack Water Alliance Community Zoom meeting is next Wednesday, February 1st at 10 a.m. Central Time. Everyone is invited to join virtually. It's an opportunity to learn about the risks to the community of the proposed Talon Metals mine in Aiken County, Minnesota. February's topic is going to be Water is Life, Talon Metals, and the Tamarack North Project. Tom Anderson is going to be presenting. You can head on over to tamaracwateralliance.org to sign up for the Zoom link. If you believe that nickel sulfide mining is too risky for Aiken County, Tamarack Water Alliance wants you to pick up a yard sign. There is a $6 donation that helps to offset the cost of that, but you can email waters@tamaracwateralliance.org to arrange to pick up your sign for that. Just a little bit of background on the Talon Metals and Tamarack North project. The proposed Talon Metals nickel sulfide mine in Tamarack, Minnesota, is threatening to destroy rural vacation land in Aiken County, which is also home to more than 460 inland lakes, wetlands, and the origin of both the Mississippi and St. Croix River watersheds. However, the really big scary thing about this that I want to talk to people about is the Talon Metals water pumping requirements. In their 2021 preliminary economic analysis, Talon Metals said that they estimated how much water they were going to have to pump. And based on that analysis, they're going to be pumping roughly 2.03 million gallons per day during this project. And that is, it's an outrageous amount of water. And Talon has not committed to filtering all this water, and nor have they disclosed how they might dispose of this quantity of water. And this level of pumping will have significant impacts on aquifer levels in Minnesota. And, this is just an ongoing problem here where these companies want to come into Minnesota and they are not taking accountability for the damage that they could do to water and land here. So if that's something that concerns you, especially after Line 3 has come through Minnesota and we're still dealing with aquifer breaches from Line 3 and massive amounts of water that were dewatered throughout Minnesota, make sure that you head on over and go to tamaracwateralliance.org and sign up for that meeting next Wednesday and get involved to do something, find out how you can help, find out more about this project. In the art world, I want to touch base on an artist that has received a wonderful fellowship. Artist G. Peter Jemison, who is Heron Clan from the Seneca Nation, was named the recipient of the Johnson Fellowship for the Arts Transforming Communities Fellowship for 2023 for his decades of work in art, film, and writing. This is a fellowship given by the Americans for the Arts organization, and they recognize artists and culture bearers who work in and with rural communities to advance cultural equity. Really exciting to have artist G. Peter Jemison from the Seneca Nation receiving that, and looking forward to finding out more about his work and the energy in that creation. I'm going to jump back to the world of environment for just a minute here. I missed this one just a minute ago, but out of the Alaska Beacon, Jacob Fischler reports that the U.S. House Republicans are possibly making it easier to give public lands away. What's happening right now is there's a provision, and it's a really technical piece of legislation in a 55-page rules package. But basically, it affects internal accounting for the House and requires that any time Congress were to give any federal lands to a state, municipality, or tribe, that it would be counted as a loss to the federal budget. And advocates and critics have things to say about that.
they disagree about the wisdom of this. Republicans and conservative groups say that this is preferable because that means that states would be the stewards of most public lands, and that those closest to the lands are obviously in a better position to make decisions on how to manage them than those in Washington. However, environmental groups and Democrats say that the federal divestment is a step towards restricting access to places where all Americans should have a claim, and that if states cannot afford to protect those public lands, which many can't, it may lead them to sell those lands to private companies. So this is a bit of an ongoing thing, and I think I might side with the environmental groups on this one. That, when we talk about an accounting dispute when it comes to land and water and protecting those things here in the United States, anytime you get those numbers involved and consider it a loss, it's not a good plan. So we'll maybe follow up on that some more as we find out on what is happening with that and what's going to transpire as this continues. One more thing here in the sports world out of AP News. Indigenous hockey cards have come out for First Nations players, which is interesting to see them coming out so late. So this month, Upper Deck revealed First Peoples rookie cards, and it features 8 Indigenous hockey players who did not get the opportunity to have their own official card the first time around. And one of the players said it's kind of like somebody calling you 40 years after your 18th birthday and saying, hey, you're turning 18, that it wasn't as exciting as it could have been, but nevertheless, they were honored. The 8 players who are now getting an officially licensed NHL trading card are Dan Fraley, Jason Simon, Bill LeClain, Ricky Trottier, Victor McCready, Danny Hodgson, Johnny Harms, and Ted Nolan. So exciting in the hockey world for First Nations people who are going to have their own official NHL trading cards. This is News with Ogma on Native Roots Radio, and back to you, Robert.
Hey, thanks, Ogma. Hey, up next, Jonny R, and we're going to be talking comedy and the big comedy show coming up. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're really excited. And then later on the show, we got Robert Lilligren of Native American Community Development Institute. Hey, we'll be right back after this short break. So please stay with us. Ho-wah.
COVID-19 is still here. It's not too late to get your booster. Staying up to date with vaccines can help you protect yourself from getting seriously ill from COVID-19. Get your booster at the 360 Colburn Clinic, operated by St. Paul Ramsey County Public Health, for a chance to win one of 5 $500 Visa gift cards. Each week in January, a winner will be selected from eligible persons age 5 and up who got their COVID-19 booster. To learn more and schedule your appointment, visit ramseycounty.us/booster.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Take care of your community by joining Metro Transit's Adopt a Stop program. Show your community pride by adopting a transit stop. Join us in helping keep the stop and your neighborhood beautiful, and report any maintenance needs to us. We'll put a sign at the stop recognizing your efforts. Plus, you'll get 10 free rides every month. Get details at metrotransit.org/adopt. Again, adopt a stop for Metro Transit.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this portion is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, and I am really pleased to have Jonny R here. And I've known peripheral about you, and it was really exciting reading this book that you're in. We had a little real estate problem, the unheralded story of Native Americans in comedy, and yeah, there you go. You have one, Jonny. So I'm really happy that you're able to come on, and it was really a heart warming story about you and your comedy track. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. Honored.
To
be here.
So you're up there in Red Lake.
Yes.
And we have Bob Blake from Red Lake on our show, and I just always love to say that, Bob Blake from Red Lake.
I was his football teammate for the Red Lake Warriors in 1992 or 93. So I know Bob.
That's cool. I'm the same age. Well, I'm a couple years older than his late great brother, and I knew him from many, many years ago. And so it's an honor to have Bob on and the good work that he does. But so, Jonny, it says here in the book that you were really starting about 2009, and you had a lot of trepidation to get into it, and then you got into it, and you're a comedian, and you always will be a comedian, and you're an overnight success in the last 12 years. Isn't that how it goes?
I'm in my 14th year right now, but yeah, it was I didn't get started till I was, I think, 33 years old. There was a showcase at a local college here for Indigenous people, so I figured it was now or never, and I signed up, did about 10 minutes of pure trash, maybe two or three laughs, and that was enough for me to it lit that fire in me that I wanted that response from crowds. And I grew up with a lot of funny guys, family members, just they're a lot funnier than I am, and I don't know how I ended up doing it, but it was just, it's been quite the journey so far.
Yeah, and Indians are funny. Well, I'm Ho-Chunk. We're not funny. We're mean, I hear. So, but natives, we have that inside humor, and a lot of humor comes from pain, and I think we have more comedians than we around the table each night than we can deal with sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing about me growing up. That was probably the most common theme that I saw. It seemed like when we were at our most vulnerable, I suppose, with our feelings and suffering, like a tragedy or something, we'd all gather and we'd all end up laughing somehow. And it's still like that when I go to funerals. I know there's a couple times where I was asked to speak at funerals, and somehow I ended up having the whole place laughing, because that's all we really know how to do. It's how we heal, and it's just been something that we've always done, from my grandparents, grandparents before them, and it's just something that we do.
What would you say is your style? I'm more of a mean Don Rickles kind of guy, but what is your style?
Well, I'm kind of I come around that area, but it's just the brutal honesty. It's kind of a turnoff to a lot of people, the way I speak, because the way I was brought up, my grandmother, my great aunts and my mom, they're these bold, in your face, Ikwewa, our Ojibwe women were very bold, and they didn't hold back their feelings or thoughts, and I grew up around that, so that's pretty much where my my humor comes from. Just saying things. There are times where a lot of times my wife tells me, behave yourself, don't embarrass me. Every time we go somewhere, so I don't know, I've always been like that, and I can't change, and that's just how I am.
So how often do you gig a year?
I average maybe, I work full time and I got a family, so I get out maybe 2-3 times a month. In the book that you read there, that my story, there are still times where I do go to Minneapolis for open mics, or for gigs that don't pay very much, and then I come right back up to Red Lake. So that's a 10-hour drive sometimes.
Yeah.
Round trip. I got to work the next day. So my thing is I get done about 10, 11 o'clock, then I come right back to Red Lake. I get home about 3 or 4 in the morning, and then get up at 6, get the kids ready. I got to go back to work. It's just, so my wife made me cut back a little bit if I'm not getting financially rewarded from it. So I've been cutting back quite a bit since then, but it's 2-3 times a month if I'm lucky. And right now we're getting some traction with our Indian Way comedy. So hopefully if something takes off, we'll be even more dates available. So
well, what I found out here with it's funny, Johnny, when I first started 6 years on this radio show, no one would come on.
Yeah.
And now everybody wants to come on, and I think it's the persistence. You've been around a long time. People can count on you, and I think there's something to that, and not only being funny, but being accountable.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, when I first started out, it was so hard to find spaces to perform. So it took me a little longer in my development to I've always had these thoughts and ideas and the almost boldness about the way I grew up. But there was just, I needed to, fine tune that, how to get it all in an act. And, living in northern Minnesota is very rare that we have those opportunities. So I've had to go down to Minneapolis and sometimes Fargo and, just find whatever I can to get better at it. I'm still learning, I'm 14 years in and I'm still trying to learn about comedy, and, I don't have all the, the access to rooms like everybody else does down in the big city. So.
Right. People working on their craft and throwing away jokes and honing in. It's a very interesting process that I've noticed. So I think I asked you this. Who is your what comedian do you really like? And there's a lot about Charlie Hill in the book, and a lot of things that he went through, and there's people out there that you're still a trailblazer though, because even though we have this attraction after Standing Rock that we have, they're noticing us Indians, whether it's in Rutherford Falls or Reservation Dogs nationally, but still you see I just want to say this, you see the same 5 or 6 Native actors in both of those shows, and there's many more talented people out on Turtle Island.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's been the cool part of this, ever since Standing Rock, myself, we've been doing, I've been able to do movies and TV and, books, and to see other guys that I've worked with, get, reach that level, because I worked a lot. I started out with Tatanka Means and also the 1491s. I worked with them a couple times, and it just so it blows my mind to see them on TV, hit that mainstream fame, how sought after they are. And it's really pushing me to try and get to that level, because I have a lot of support among the all of the guys that I came up with. And Tatanka, he's always probably one of my best friends in this business, and we talk a lot. And it just really, he just tells me to keep going at it, throw in auditions, and something will click along the line. So that's what I'll be doing.
Well, I think you and I should talk about doing and it was in the book, so it isn't my idea, but you and I should talk about doing in the Twin Cities a national comedian contest, and get all our natives coming into the cities here, and really have a contest, and then also have all the comedians gather together and really help each other out, which I think they are. And one of the things I got to just tell you real quick too is Bobby Wilson was a student of mine. He wasn't in class very often, but he did hover around Harding for a year or so. But that's another story. But he's been on the show a few times, and he's one that I feel like too that really comes back and supports where he's from, because he was not only was he in NDN Young, he worked at NDN Young, and that's a kind of a shelter for young people. So he brings back stuff, and But we should talk about that. And we only got a minute left here. And then I want to really, next segment, talk to you a little bit about, for a few minutes, just about the big show that's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Bobby and, Dallas and all those 1491ers that are really taking off. And, there's Trish too. Funny story too. It's such a small community here. Yeah. Trish's brother I worked with at Harding, he's an art teacher for many, many, many years. So it's a small.
Oh, wow.
We have an Indian country. Well, hey, why don't we take a break and then come back and talk a little bit about the show, huh?
Okay.
What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to Native Roots Radio. We'll have Jonny R on, and then after Johnny, we got Robert Lilligren in the bullpen. We'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us.
Get vaccinated while discovering the inspiring work of Native American STEM professionals. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul will host a COVID vaccine clinic on Saturday, January 28th at the Science Museum of Minnesota's Native American STEM Day. Get your shot while enjoying a live DJ, activities, STEM student-led panels, galleries, and exhibitors. Plus, get $50 of gift card incentives when you get vaccinated. So let's get vaccinated and celebrate Native Americans in STEM on Saturday, January 28th from 11 to 4 at the Science Museum of Minnesota. Admission is free.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hello, Minneapolis. It's Randy Rhodes on your radio in the heart of the Midwest every weeknight from 10 to midnight on AM 950.
Hi, everybody. This is Paul Metza, host of the Walnut Power Radio Hour, going on its 8th anniversary this year on AM 950. I want to tell you that I've got a great book out called Alphabet Jazz, Poetry, Prose, Stories, and Songs. It's writings I've done over the last 40 years. It's available on Amazon, or if you want to shop locally, go to the Electric Fetus, Crumpy's Bar Northeast, or High Fine Hair in Loring Park. I think you're going to enjoy it. Thanks so much.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Come visit the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. For breakfast, try the slow-cooked brisket hash, hippie cakes, and meat waffle. While for lunch, enjoy favorites like the buttermilk fried chicken sandwich or veggie burger. Hazel's is open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 8 to 8, with a Sunday brunch from 8 to 2. Located off 29th and Johnson in Northeast Minneapolis. More at hazelsne2go.com. If you're craving barbecue, then don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue, located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Scott Jamama's offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. The potato salad, spicy baked beans, and twice-baked potatoes should not be missed. More details at scottjamamas.com.
On the show, This Queer Book Saved My Life, we talk with LGBTQ guests about the queer books that saved their lives. On our next episode, we chat with lawyer and author Zaylor Stout about the book Don't Sweat the Small Stuff by Richard Carlson. We'll get into Zaylor's legal career, his coming out journey, and writing his own book, Our Gay History in 50 States. Listen to This Queer Book Saved My Life every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
The appliance industry is suffering from major delays with shortages on the horizon. The specialists at Warner Stelling have the area's best selection with thousands of appliances in stock for fast pickup or free delivery. Shop 10 Minnesota stores or at warnerstellian.com.
The new year is here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. So it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res. And don't forget your air ducts to help alleviate allergies or asthma. And it's also important to enjoy less dust, lower energy bills, and your home will stay cleaner longer. Zero Res is here to protect your biggest investment, your home. Why pay someone to clean your carpet if they're going to leave things behind that are going to make it dirty again quickly? Zero Res is the longest lasting and best clean. Schedule your appointment at zeroresminnesota.com or call 952-0RES, and don't forget to ask for the AM 950 special. Book now through January 31st and get 23% off all services. Call 952-0RES or go to zeroresminnesota.com today to book your appointment.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for some light snow tonight with a temp rising to about 22, Friday cloudy with a high near 25, and Saturday cloudy with a high around 9. Hazel's Northeast has some of the most creatively prepared comfort food you'll find for any meal of the day. Favorites include the Drunken Banana French Toast, Buttermilk Fried Chicken Sandwich, and Swedish Meatballs. Open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 8 to 8 with a Sunday brunch from 8 until 2. Located off 29th and Johnson. More at hazelsnetogo.com.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey everyone, this portion of the show is brought to you by MNsure. If you're looking for health insurance that you can afford, head on over to mnsure.org. That's mnsure.org.
Hey, Pinagigi Ogama. Hey, we're here with Jonny R, and up next, Robert Lilligren. Johnny, I just want to talk a little bit here before we let you go about the big show coming up, and let everybody know where, who, what, where, when, and how. Oh, I got you muted. Hold on a second here. Oh, go ahead, Johnny.
Good.
You're up.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be myself, Trish Cook, fellow Red Laker, and Leech Laker. The Res reporter Rob Fairbanks will be live at the historic. I'm drew a blank. What is it called?
The Parkway Theater.
That's what it is. Parkway Theater. Yeah, it's it's kind of a special thing because all three of us were actually born in Southside Minneapolis. I grew up there the first 3-4 years of life, and Trish and Rob their youth there. So it's kind of a important date for us. We're all coming back, and we're gonna res it up. So that's pretty exciting for us. We've been doing this for. I actually started with NDN Way podcast, which I have right here. I have my own podcast. It's on iTunes and Spotify. And I figured, when I actually tried to book, it took me 10 years to get in a club down in the cities to have my own show. And Mike Brody, he's the one that booked us at the House of Comedy. And he's, well, you have a name for your your show? Like, well, I got a podcast called NDN Way with Jonny R. And I said, yeah, you can use that. You use NDN Way. So we ran with that. I think our first one was in June of 2020. And, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and there was like maybe 11 people there, and it wasn't really it was a tricky time because we're all still wearing masks and wiping down mics after every time somebody was done, and it was really a sketchy time to try and do comedy. But they called us back, and I invited Trish to the next one, and Rob was still down, so we just went with this group. And all Ojibwe, I don't think an all Ojibwe lineup has ever headlined the House of Comedy, and also what we're doing this weekend. We've been able to make it to Fargo, North Dakota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at Boss's Comedy Club, and we're just trying to spread some Ojibwe joy. So that's pretty much what we're doing. We all get along good together, and that's the thing I wanted to talk about. The Indigenous comedians. Everyone that I've ever worked with is nothing but pure professional. You keep it on a professional level. Friendships grow from that, and we're all just like a pretty, big family. You read about mainstream comedians that are, difficult to work with, but this is just all of us coming together. And I actually had a post yesterday, or was that today, about my 5 favorite Indigenous comedians, and I never really thought of that before, but I went ahead and did it anyway. So I'm probably going to be in trouble for ranking on it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, give us a sneak peek at that ranking before we let you go.
Okay, number 5, I had Von Eagleberg. I love the guy. He's probably one of the smartest men I've ever been around, and I really he was one of the when I first started out, I did a show with him, and he gave us like the best advice. It was in Red Lake at the time, and he said, you're here. These are your people. They want to hear you. They want to see you succeed. So there should be no pressure, and that really just took all the pressure off of us doing that show in Red Lake. And number 4, I couldn't really break them all down, but the 49 Laughs comedy, Tatanka Means, Ernie Sosi, James June, and Adrian Chelipa, Pax Harvey, all strictly, professional, get along good with them. So I put them all in as number 4. And then number 3 was J.R. Redwater, probably one of the best comedians out there right now. But number 2, Mark Yaffe, another straight professional. He's on the road constantly and, trailblazing for the rest of us, making a name for the indigenous comedy out there. And then number 1, I had to give it to old school Larry Omaha. I got to work with him, sat with him and visited him for a while. And I was just blown away. He had so many stories with Charlie Hill, all the Eddie Murphy and all those guys in Hollywood. I was just impressed by him. And so that's why he gets number 1, because he's our king right now, after Charlie Hill passed away. So, yeah.
Well, Jonny R, thanks for stopping in. I'm going to get one of those Indian Way shirts that you got hanging up back there when I come down there.
Yeah, I'll have merch.
Cool. Yeah, because I'm cool swag. Appreciate it. We're going to see you at the Parkway this Saturday.
Yep.
And we'll see you. And thanks again for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Oh, all right. Have a great day. Wow, that's cool. We got Robert Lilligren coming on right now here. And Ogamai, there you go. That was a fun interview. Welcome, Robert. And you are muted, I can see here. Oh, wow.
Yeah, bonjour, Ogama, bonjour, Robert. Great to be here. It was a great interview to listen to. Great guest.
Oh, it's just, we should try and get a comedy. I read this book, and Jonny R was able to get me in touch with the author, and he was in the book, and it was awesome. And we should try and get some kind of comedy contest, your native comedy contest going on. And that's not my idea. It's been done before in the book, and it sounds really, really fun and exciting to have something like that here in the Twin Cities, and that'd be fun.
It sounds cool, especially native humor. It's great humor, and I so respect people who can be funny, intentionally. When I try to be funny, I'm not, and then sometimes I'll be speaking to a group and everyone bursts out laughing. What did I just say? So I really respect the art of people who can be funny on demand.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue. Robert Lilligren, Native Community Development Institute, among a lot of other things here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. Speaking of comedy now, since we last spoke, we got Professor Pence here with some documents at his house now, Vice President.
Oh, right.
The beats go on and on.
That whole thing is so intriguing. It wasn't a surprise when they found all that at Trump's. I think, I don't know, led many of us think he may have been passing information on and things. So then when the Biden thing happened, I thought, well, what is this? I thought maybe there was some strategy there or something. But now with Pence, it just makes me wonder how leaky the whole federal government is, a leaky vessel. And I've been reading a little about it, and then some of it may have to do with the classification of documents, how they're classified and things. But still, it sounds kind of messy.
Yeah, and one of the things the Republicans like to bring up is like, how come they aren't raiding Obama's house? And I never even thought of that. The last president before the last president, I wonder if he's got any documents.
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And I'm guessing you probably saw the meme on social media and everything that had the panel of Fox News presenters all wearing neck braces because they had to do such a quick sort of double take after they were jumping all over Biden. And then when Pence's classified documents got discovered and reported on, pretty good humor.
Well, here's another national question I have for you, too. Omar, they're trying to get rid of Omar, but I don't think they have the votes in that committee.
It looks like they don't, and fingers crossed. And Ilhan Omar is my congressperson. I'm a huge supporter. I think she's an important voice and presence in Congress. She's great to the local Native community. She has brought considerable resources here. She's very present in the community, even when she's not speaking. She just shows up at community events.
Right.
So she's a big supporter of us. I'm a big supporter of hers. And it looks like there isn't going to be, fingers crossed, the votes. And I was talking the last couple of weeks about trying to see where this kind of center bipartisan majority that can actually govern might be emerging. And I suspect we'll see something around the debt ceiling limit. But here's a little precursor, I think, to that. And there isn't an equivalency, between Congresswoman Omar and people like Congresswoman Taylor Greene, and the threats they made, the threats of violence that prompted them to get removed from committees. They just don't like, who she is, what she represents, and so hopefully cooler heads will prevail.
Yeah, I think so, and I think you're right. It's a precursor because how ridiculous is that, and how ridiculous? What did the Speaker of the House have to sell his soul? I mean, you got people that are in committees that should be, investigating themselves. So,
Right. Yeah, that oversight committee is pretty scary, the membership there. And I suspect that there's going to be these little, landmines exploding throughout, representing the deal that the speaker McCarthy made to get the vote. And I don't think that's really serving the American people very well. I don't think it's serving the American Republic very well either. So, but there's more of these for sure. And I was pretty impressed with the Senate Minority Leader sending the issue over to the Speaker. It's like, okay, the debt ceiling debate.
Yeah.
You figure it out, and I think that was smart strategy, and I think that McCarthy will find out in short order that he's going to have to compromise and bend.
well, I keep on hearing over and over again, and not from the mainstream media, but from people probably on AM 950 and experts over during the day, that these debts are caused by Republicans. Whenever they're in power, they go in deep in debt, and we know that with Trump, that we were so deep in debt, and he was spending like a sailor, and then lifting taxes and taxing the poor, and Robin Hood, and all this stuff, but even all the way back to Reagan,
Right.
just spending like drunken sailors, and then the Democrats.
That's just a fact. That Republican administrations drive up the debt, and Democratic administrations pay it down, or at least get it under control, right? And it's kind of a false indicator anyway. The debt ceiling is kind of a fabricated limit, and it gives this outsized leverage every time that it needs to be addressed and needs to be raised. And it's not just about the U.S., right? The entire world economy hinges on the success of the U.S. economy. So these guys are playing chicken with the world economy. And I suspect some of them would be willing to crash the world economy to prove their point or to get their way.
Exactly. And we'll see how far that goes for 2024. Hey, Robert, can you hold on for another segment?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks.
Right on. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm here with Ogama and Robert Lilligren, and we're talking a little politics. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. Ho!
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Getting vaccinated doesn't have to be boring. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul is having a COVID-19 community vaccine event on Friday, January 27th that will feature music, crafts, art vendors, and more. Not only will you get to enjoy some great art, but you'll also receive $50 of gift card incentives when you get your shot. So protect yourself from COVID while having some fun enjoying Minnesota's vibrant Indigenous art scene. Again, that's Friday, January 27th from 3 until 7 at the Indigenous Roots Cultural Center in St. Paul.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Take care of your community by joining Metro Transit's Adopt a Stop program. Show your community pride by adopting a transit stop. Join us in helping keep the stop and your neighborhood beautiful and report any maintenance needs to us. We'll put a sign at the stop recognizing your efforts. Plus, you'll get 10 free rides every month. Get details at metrotransit.org/adopt. Again, adopt a stop for Metro Transit.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves. Please join Howling for Wolves on Wolf Day, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at the Minnesota State Capitol. You can sign up on Howling for Wolves event page. Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, one more time, everybody. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. Oh!
Hey, we always do it twice because we love to see our guest howl, I guess, right? They're Ogama.
Absolutely. It's great when the guests join in and howl with us right away. And, you know, just to reiterate to February 7th, you can sign up to join Wolf Day at the Minnesota State Capitol in person or virtually. You can register at bit.ly/wolfday2023.
Yeah, Wendy signed up, and I'm going to sign up and get myself a t-shirt and try and get down there. And it's always fun, Robert. We're here with Robert Lilligren, CEO of Native American Community Development Institute. And we always love to bring up the fact that our lieutenant governor is a wolf clan. So when we howl for the wolves, we're howling for her relatives.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I was able to see Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, my whiter sister, this week at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. There was a beautiful ceremony, a ground blessing ceremony as part of the renovation there, and the Lieutenant Governor was one of the speakers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry I missed that, but you know, I don't get all the emails. It's I'm not on the email.
I think it was a very exclusive group, Robert.
Good one.
Peggy was there, and Mary Lagarde, the fantastic director of the Indian Center that's been shepherding through this major rebuild and renovation. I mean, she's just done amazing work. And she reminded the group, and Peggy, the Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, reminded the group, that is where she and Governor Walz kicked off their first campaign. And I remember you were there, and they came out into the community, to the Minneapolis American Indian Center, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, and that's a great memory. Also, you know, the governor really responded and respected who her lieutenant governor is, and it's really funny. Like, there's very few lieutenant governors that I can even remember before Peggy, and I really mean that honestly. That this has been a great partnership with the governor and lieutenant governor, and they go to a lot of things together, and they both speak. And I also like the story that was told, and she used to tell it a lot in the beginning of the first campaign, is that she, in the Wellstone, I don't remember what it was exactly called.
Wellstone Action.
That she was his instructor.
Yep. Peggy used to teach there. She pioneered or engineered the first Indigenous candidate training curriculum, but she also trained candidates. And when I served on the Minneapolis City Council one term, we had at least two of her former students that were actually in the same class as now Governor Tim Walz. he was preparing to run for Congress then. So she not only does the governance, she shares what she knows and brings others along. I think that's important aspect of her as a person, her as a politician, her as a Native, high profile Native.
Yeah, and I think we're getting another update from her this weekend, play next week. So we're excited with the partnership and to amplify our lieutenant governor's voice all over Turtle Island. As you know, we're all over civic media, and we just think of big things are coming for this young lady, and she's been doing.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, Robert, your observation about how they move in tandem, they almost co-govern, right? And now Senator Tina Smith, when she was lieutenant governor to Governor Dayton, she really elevated the lieutenant governor position. But Peggy has just used that as a foundation, and together with Governor Waltz, they've really done it, and that doesn't always happen. They sort of started that way, but it could be easy for a governor to kind of move off on his own, but they have stayed very close together. I think that's smart for Minnesota, for governing here, and smart politics. And even with the budget now, it's all about the budget, right? And the governor's proposals are coming out. He's had maybe 2 or 3 in the last days, and now to go to the legislature. We of course have totally democratically controlled state government, which is great. And it's always the Waltz Flanagan budget. They put it right out there, and that's not required. That's because they're being very smart about how to govern here.
Right, exactly. And we appreciate that for sure, because I can't, especially when I was teaching, I always told the lieutenant governor this too, is like, thank you for doing this, because you look like my students, and that's my Native students, and that's huge, because we didn't have that when we were young. All my Native friends I thought weren't Native. It's the back.
Right. Yep.
And you told the story before too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't know any of my classmates that were Native until 1978, and all of a sudden there was all this action around recognizing and honoring the Native graduates, and I learned that 12 of my graduating class that I never knew were Native. We were all invited to a luncheon, and it's like, oh, you're Indian. And, with me, it's not that hard to miss the fact, but a lot of folks who were so obviously Native, but they'd never self-identified. We'd never identified to each other, because we didn't view there as being any benefit to it, right? It was more of a liability at the time.
It's funny. I was feuding with a few of them, and they ended up being Ho-Chunk in Winnebago. It's like crazy. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, I'm not surprised.
Well, you hear about those Ho-Chunks, they're pretty mean people,
Right. That's not the part that doesn't surprise me. It's that internalized sort of colonization mentality. Yeah, where we do the colonizers' work for them. So that's the part that doesn't surprise me.
We just had Bob Rice on Powwow Grounds, and that was fun. And we got to have a show coming up here soon. I was at the Powwow Grounds, and I see that it's in transition right now. All My Relations Gallery. What's happening? Do you know what's coming up?
There is. I was just meeting this afternoon with Angela Two Stars, the brilliant artist and the director of All My Relations Arts. She works for NACD. All My Relations Arts is a project of NACD's. And she deliberately left the gallery dark in January. And she normally has had programs 4 shows in a year. And she left January dark to give her time to move more planning, to build more partnerships. And I think that was a really smart idea. And so she was sketching out the year, or actually the next 2 years. And she is, so brilliant. She first came to All My Relations Arts as a guest curator for the show that she named Bring Her Home, Stolen Daughters of Turtle Island. And now that has become an annual exhibit. And she's talking now about, it's almost always predominantly Native women artists, occasional male artist as well, but now she's thinking of presenting this issue from a man's perspective and really shifting that, which I think will be very intriguing. She's talking about doing All My Relations Arts' first ever youth Native artist show and she talks about how seeing her art presented in a gallery really helped pave her pathway to becoming a professional artist. So she wants to give other young Native artists that opportunity. We're going to have a traveling show. We're going to have an exchange sort of show with the gallery in Thunder Bay
Wow.
this year. So yeah, lots of good stuff. And then of course all that ancillary stuff, the community arts programming, and we're introducing arts into our Four Sisters Farmers Market, our Four Sisters Farm, and just really integrating all of our programs.
That's exciting, and I know we plan on being on at the next opening live, so that's going to be fun.
I love it. Yeah, your name came up several times in conversation today. We're gonna have lots for you to do at NACD in the upcoming season.
we'll have to get Ogama and her daughter to come down.
Oh, that would be great. Anytime, Ogama. Let me know, and we can maybe help with arrangements or something.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I'll have to put a little bug in her ear about it.
I love it.
Hey, we only got like 30 seconds left, Robert. Thank you so much. And thanks for being flexible, because I thought today was Wednesday. And I corrected Ogama today. She says it's Thursday. I said, it's not Thursday, it's Wednesday. And I've been to a bunch of meetings today, and it was Wednesday in my mind, but it was Thursday. But wow, thanks again for being flexible. Hey, see everybody tomorrow. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. Free Leonard Peltier now.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, why trust science?